Welcome to today's PowerTrend webinar series from A6. RTB Performance Disappointment, the New Normal. This is Bill Urschel, CEO of A6 Corporation. A little background on me. I was the founder and CEO of one of the first ad exchanges, AdECN. We popped up at about the same time Right Media did in New York. We were in California. We got acquired by Microsoft. They got acquired by Yahoo. With me today are Gareth Glazier, our general manager. We're here in our New York offices. He's formerly in sales at AppNexus. Also with me is Dan Porthoff, our director of sales, and he was also formerly account management at AppNexus. So the issue is RTB disappointments. There are really 5 problems with RTB today that have a lot of us struggling. Lack of transparency, fraudulent clicks, junk inventory, lack of brand safety, and then a couple of problems associated with mobile. What all of these are doing is they're contributing to poor performance and frankly giving RTB kind of a bad name. There are some trends happening. They're technology based, so we don't think this is going to be the new normal. We think we've got some technology that's going to turn this around and make RTB the incredibly valuable resource that it is. The first trend is a demand for transparency. Advertisers really need to know more about what they're buying. Going back to the first days of AdECN when we were inventing this concept of RTB, I looked at my old business plan recently. We literally had 3 steps. The first step was illuminate the inventory so the buyer knew what he was buying and how much to bid. The second was conduct the auction. And then the third was serve the ad and do the accounting. We completely forgot that first step. So did Right Media. So did every RTB after us. What happened is the market, the advertisers came up with cookie-based retargeting. And as probably everybody on the line here knows, that's applying cookies that you have or have rented to the traffic, and when you see that cookie, you know to show the ad. There are problems with retargeting. Sometimes the results were good, but the reach is limited because you only have so many cookies you can apply, and there's an awful lot of traffic out there. And cookies don't do anything to address fraud or brand safety. So a little bit later, the market came up with this concept of walled gardens, and essentially that's first-party inventory. That's where you've got a marketplace selling inventory that it generates itself. The Facebook exchange, for example, is a great external walled garden or private exchange. Microsoft's inventory being sold and controlled by Microsoft through AppNexus is another form of a private exchange. So what's happened just very recently is we no longer talk so much about remnant inventory. We talk about first-party inventory and third-party inventory. So the solutions to those problems we had up front, we think, is a way to illuminate all third-party inventory so that the buyer knows the content of every page, its important, and its safety rating. Essentially, you need to know almost everything about that page and its place in the universe. Our internet topology starts out by reading every meaningful web page out there. Right now we're reading 10 billion URLs and doing our calculations on them. The first thing we do with the page is we assign one or more realms to it. A realm is a subject category. At the topmost level, it sort of looks like the IAB topic categories, but we go very deep. We can create custom realms, but it's a little bit like the old contextual targeting, assign a subject matter to a page. We go way beyond the old contextual targeting, though, by calculating the magnitude for each page within a realm. What we do is we track what every page says about every other page, and we track what the social world says about every page. We look at tweets and posts, and what pages they're referring to. We put all of this in the mix, and then we're able to calculate what the world thinks of each page within a realm. Closely associated with that concept of magnitude or ranking within a realm is affinity. What we found is that there are a lot of pages out there that are not in the target realm, but that have influence on the target realm. A common example might be that if you're advertising into the photography realm, you look for photography pages, of course. But you might not think to look on a bird watching site, because a bird watching site may have a page that talks about the best cameras to take pictures of birds in Central Park, and we can find that for you. The other nice thing about affinity as well as magnitude is all of this changes constantly. Justin Bieber's blog probably would not be a good place for Ford to advertise its F-150 pickup truck until the day that Justin Bieber blogs about his Ford pickup truck, and then it becomes a really hot place to advertise. Our system will tell you on that day something has happened. If you're Ford, you should pay attention to Justin's blog. Gareth, want to talk about fraud a little bit? I think that's on everybody's mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So the second trend that we want to take a look at, and again, this is Gareth. I recently started with A6, but before that I've been with a number of performance networks, and I was one of the earliest sales members at AppNexus. Something that I've been seeing a lot across the marketplace has been a predisposition with fraud, and with good reason, because there are all kinds of estimates around the amount of fraud across all of the inventory in RTB being, on the low end 20 to 30%, on the high end upwards of 40%.
And that's all RTB. That's industry wide.
Absolutely, across every site that's out there coming into the marketplaces. And really, there are two major types of fraud that people are seeing. The first being fraudulent clicks, so those clicks coming from non-human scripts that are looking at different websites, and the other ones being junk sites. So that's everything from fake ad impressions to actually websites that are filled with content that's made to be consumed by people looking for certain keywords or certain phrases, but that aren't actual websites. They don't have real user bases, and they don't even have real articles. They're just there to generate ad impressions. So there are a number of solutions that have come out industry-wide, right? And most of what we've seen thus far is after the fact, which means that you are about to run on a fraudulent or really low-quality website, and then there's some algorithm that tells you, oh, this was fraud, or there's something that says you bought this impression but you don't want to show there. And basically, we think that everyone is approaching the problem from the wrong direction. And what the A6 topology is designed to do is to turn the problem on its head and go out there and study all these different data points that we're describing about these sites, right from social to linking landscape and everything associated with that, and find the sites that are high quality and then target them specifically. And that's what the internet topology does.
So to put it another way, we're measuring sites and their quality from the top down, and we just don't go to the bottom, which is where the problems are.
Exactly right.
All right. Dan, you want to talk about the next trend?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. So this is Dan. I'm also formerly of AppNexus on the account management side. And prior to that, I was at Epic Media Group for several years as director of account management. So we look at brand safety as being no longer the exception. It should now become the norm. Since the advent of real-time bidding, display advertising has largely been thought of as a technique for retargeters and direct response performance-based advertisers, where inventory quality is a secondary concern to return on ad spend. So, despite its benefits, many brand advertisers initially shied away from real-time bidding, largely due to concerns about the quality of the inventory on which their campaigns might run. Brand safety is a problem inherent with cookie-based targeting. The presence of a cookie doesn't necessarily say anything about the content or the quality of the page. The rise of brand safety players such as DoubleVerify is essentially only a band-aid or a point solution. Additionally, the billing model of these types of companies is based on impressions transacted or processing fees and not actual campaign performance. So, while two sites may be classified as existing in the same contextual category, A6 magnitude will serve to filter out low-quality content that might be unsuitable to brands. When you're able to confirm the content, as well as the actual quality of the page, brand safety is no longer an issue. And as brand safety becomes less of a problem, we like to think that more brand marketing spend will move into RTB.
Good. Well, mobile's becoming huge. Gareth, you got something to say about the mobile trend?
Absolutely. The other really interesting thing about A6 data and everything that Bill was talking about with magnitude and affinity and all of these different tools that we use is as mobile grows, we have noticed that more and more people are consuming regular web content on mobile devices. And what this means is that as people are using their tablets, right, like their iPads to view websites and to read the news or something like that, we're going to run into a lot of the problems that are inherent in mobile today, which are a lack of cookie-based targeting or a lot of difficulty and privacy concerns around tracking users in general. And the great part about A6 is that all of the data that we gather and all of the different points that we measure and everything that we act on with magnitude and affinity is exactly the same. The data applies for these mobile impressions the same way that it would apply for display impressions. And you're going to be able to find the high-value sites with the high-value audiences using our tools for analysis the exact same way. And you don't fall into a lot of the pitfalls that a lot of people hit with mobile today, having to do with trying to segment users kind of against their will.
So it sounds like we handle mobile just fine. The only issue is we can't solve fat fingers on small devices and eliminate accidental clicks. So you just have to bid accordingly. Is that right?
That's exactly right. That's a problem that nobody's going to be able to solve, really.
All right. Well, what does this all boil down to for AppNexus users? It's performance. It's a lower cost per acquisition. We've done a lot of A/B split tests against the old-fashioned contextual players, and we're beating the best of them by 8x, meaning for every dollar you spend on an acquisition with us, you'd be spending $8 to get it with them. The ratio goes up 1 to 40 with some of the other players. But the really interesting comparison is using our data with AppNexus inventory and competing with Google's display network. Right now, we're beating them 1 to 3.4x. So a dollar cost per acquisition on our side, if you run the same campaign at the same time, same offer over on Google's display network, it'll cost you $3.40. And we think that opens the door for a lot of AppNexus inventory sales. Suddenly it becomes vastly more valuable inventory when you know more about it. In fact, that very first step on the very first RTB business plan we wrote, illuminate the inventory and then run the auction. That's what we're doing, and that's what we've delivered to AppNexus. For a limited time, new clients are welcome to try what we've got. Sign up on our website, get 2 weeks free data, all you can eat for 2 weeks, and we think you'll be happy with it. We're excited about it. Our first customers are excited about it. We think you will be too. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, go ahead and open it up.
How is this different from contextual, like Pier 39, Proximic, Grapeshot? Touched on it briefly. The current contextual solutions are all flat lists. They have a page and then they have some number of subjects that apply to that page. We start there, but we go much further with our magnitude concept, and that's the relationships between the pages and the relationships between the social tweets and posts in those pages. The magic is in the relationships. Yeah, we do the best job of anybody of figuring out what the content of a page is, but that's not enough. You have to figure out within a realm or a subject category, how important does the world think that page is? That's the most important thing we do right there.
Interesting. Looks like we have another one coming in. So the question is, how is this different from Google and Google's algorithms?
Well, I'll tell you how it's similar first. Google, of course, uses keywords and they use page ranking. And in their display business, they can use those technologies to process any URL they can see. They're the only other technology out there other than our internet topology that does that. So they're applying their search technologies to display. It works. It's the only other technology out there that works for all URLs. But keywords and page ranking were really developed for search in mind. They're great for ad hoc searches. They're not so good for display. We have realms, which is a hierarchy rather than keywords. Turns out that that's a lot better for display because if you get a keyword wrong, you can be completely off. But if you get a realm wrong, you're still in the zone. Maybe you didn't get Italian motorcycles, but you got European motorcycles, and that's not so bad. And then our magnitude takes in a whole range of social inputs that Google's doesn't. And that just gives us a richer feel. And then there's the concept of affinity, which they don't even have, which is finding realms that apply to your target realm that you might not expect. Does it work? We're beating them $1 to $3.40. So yeah, it works.
So I think the next question we have is in regards to brand safety, because that's where a lot of people have seen this kind of data before.
Question here is, can you exclude realms for brand safety? Yes, you can, and it's important that you do so. I've mentioned that any particular page has one or more realms assigned to it, and if you're selling vegan food, you really don't want to show up on a sausage site, so you would put in exclude certain realms as well as include certain realms.
Perfect.
Last question here. Can you talk more about the social inputs? Primarily Twitter feeds, some Facebook posts. Anytime anybody talks about a page, does a retweet, does a link, we track that. We all add it up, and we use it in our calculation for magnitude. So it's a constant and live. Of our two inputs, well, we in shorthand internally we call them the web graph and the social graph. The web graph is pages talking about other pages. It's a little bit like Google's old back row algorithm. It's how many pages link to this page. If a lot of pages link to this page, then this page must be important. That's effectively it. It's called Markov chain math. On the social world, it's similar. The big difference is, of course, the social world changes more quickly. The web graph is useful for us in that it gives us sort of a baseline magnitude that doesn't change very rapidly, but the social graph is very useful to us because it allows us to track up to the hour changes in the status of a page. If an event happens that makes one page particularly hot, then we know about it. Back to the Justin Bieber and the Ford F-150 concept.
Perfect.
Any other questions?
Good check. Don't see anything else.
All right, I guess we're done for today, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us and hope to see you next time.